Have you ever walked away from a conversation, replaying it in your head, and suddenly realized you said far more than you intended? Maybe you shared a doubt about a decision you were making, mentioned a financial worry in passing, or let slip how much a certain person's opinion still stings after all these years. At the time, it felt natural, honest, even human, but later, the quiet unease creeps in. That little piece of yourself you handed over so casually, now floating somewhere in someone else's mind, ready to be used, remembered, or repeated when it suits them. If you've lived long enough to have watched trust erode, alliances shift, and confidence is quietly turned against you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Information is power, and most of us leak it every single day without ever noticing the slow bleed. Today, we're going to look at why we do it, what it really costs, why the most respected people you've ever known were always the most selectively private, and how, after decades of learning the hard way, you can finally stop giving away leverage you've spent a lifetime building. Most people give away information constantly because it feels safe, natural, even necessary. We talk to connect. We talk to relieve pressure. We talk because silence feels awkward or suspicious. But every word you release is a piece of leverage you can never take back. The colleague who knows your next career move can quietly position themselves ahead of you. The friend who knows your insecurities can use them to steer conversations, guilt you, or simply feel superior. The family member who knows your financial worries can lean harder when they need help. These aren't always malicious acts. Often they're just human opportunism. But the result is the same. You become easier to influence, easier to predict, easier to manage. The more others know, the less they have to guess, and the less they have to respect your autonomy. Humans overshare because the brain is wired for it. Sharing creates trust, releases anxiety, and strengthens social bonds. When you confide in someone, your nervous system registers safety. Dopamine flows. The pressure inside eases. For most of our evolutionary history, openness signaled alliance. I trust you, therefore you can trust me. In small tribes, that mutual vulnerability was survival. Today, the same wiring pushes us to disclose far more than is wise. We mistake emotional relief for safety. We mistake bonding for protection. We forget that the person listening is still a separate human with their own incentives, pressures, and survival math. What feels like connection in the moment often becomes exposure in the long run. The cost of being open is rarely immediate. It's slow and subtle. Transparency invites misuse. The moment someone knows your weaknesses, doubts about your abilities, fears of abandonment, financial strain, health concerns, relationship tensions, they hold a quiet weapon, not because they're evil, but because people remember vulnerabilities more vividly than strengths. Strengths are expected. Weaknesses are leverage. That offhand comment about not sleeping well since the retirement uncertainty becomes ammunition the next time someone wants something from you. That moment of honesty about a past mistake becomes a permanent footnote in how others see your judgment. Openness doesn't build unbreakable bonds. It builds usable information. Powerful people understand this instinctively. They are selectively private, not secretive. Privacy is a choice, not paranoia. They share what serves them, results, confidence, vision. They withhold what could be used, personal doubts, detailed plans, emotional triggers, precise timelines. They know that mystery preserves authority. When others can't fully read you, they hesitate before pushing. They second-guess their assumptions. They treat you with more caution. The most respected individuals you've known over the years weren't the most talkative. They were the most measured. They gave you enough to trust them, but never enough to control them. There is a vital difference between connection and exposure. Real closeness doesn't require full access to your inner world. You can be warm, kind, present, and even vulnerable in measured ways, without handing over the keys to your leverage points. Deep relationships are built on shared experience, mutual respect, and earned trust, not on total transparency. The people who demand to know everything about you are rarely doing it for intimacy. They're doing it for control. True connection thrives in safety, not in nakedness. Certain things should almost never be revealed, especially early or widely. Personal doubts about your own competence or worth. Detailed future plans before they're locked in. Specific weaknesses, emotional, financial, physical, relational, active grievances or resentments that could be used to paint you as bitter. Exact leverage points, how much you need a deal, how badly you want a relationship to work, what would truly hurt you. These are not lies by omission. They are strategic containment. You're not deceiving. You're protecting what you've spent decades building. Information gets weaponized because humans are opportunists by nature. We remember what can be used more than what flatters. A strength is nice. A vulnerability is useful. The colleague who knows you're worried about retirement might quietly lobby for your role. The friend who knows your marriage tension might use it to create distance when it suits them. The family member who knows your guilt buttons will press them when they need something. This isn't always malice. It's human nature operating under pressure. The more people know, the more they can maneuver. Even the safest listeners are not always safe forever. Trusted circles shift under pressure. New incentives, new fears, new alliances. The confidant today can become the competitor tomorrow. The ally who swore secrecy can rationalize breaking it when their own survival is on the line. History is full of people who were betrayed by those they trusted most. Assuming permanent safety is the real risk. Sharing feels good in the moment because it relieves internal pressure. The weight lifts, the anxiety eases. You feel understood, lighter, closer. But the relief is short-term. The cost is long-term. You've traded temporary comfort for permanent exposure. The same conversation that felt healing can be replayed, reframed, or weaponized months or years later. What felt like freedom in the moment becomes a chain you didn't notice you were forging. Silence protects you more than honesty in most high-stakes moments. Not responding to a probe, not explaining your absence, not justifying your decision. These choices preserve position. Honesty is only powerful when it serves you. When it gives others leverage, silence is the wiser path. Silence doesn't lie. It simply refuses to volunteer. The social currency of mystery is enormous. When you're unreadable, people project their own fears and hopes onto you. They hesitate. They respect. They become curious instead of entitled. Mystery increases perceived value. The less they know, the more they assume you have depth, control, strength. The person who shares everything becomes ordinary. The person who shares selectively becomes rare. Oversharing changes how people treat you from peer to liability. Once they know your soft spots, you're no longer the equal they have to negotiate with. You're the predictable one they can manage. The shift is subtle but permanent. Peers become users. Respect becomes convenience. Certain situations demand privacy more than others. Workplaces where information is currency. Negotiations where vulnerability is leverage. Romantic relationships where emotional weapons can be used for years. Social hierarchies where status is maintained through perception. In these arenas, what you withhold matters more than what you reveal. Practice controlled disclosure by asking 3 questions before you speak. Does this serve me? Does this person need to know? Can this be used against me later? Share what builds alliance without giving away leverage. Share results, not process. Share confidence, not doubt. Share selectively, never reactively. Here is the final principle. Your words create your weak points. Every piece of information you release is a potential vulnerability you can never fully retract. Restraint isn't coldness, it's wisdom. It isn't paranoia, it's protection. After all these years of learning who can be trusted and who cannot, you've earned the right to decide what you share, with whom and when. Keep your inner world sacred. Let others earn access. The less they know, the more they must respect. Your silence, your selectivity, your measured presence. These are not walls. They are the quiet strength that turns respect into something automatic rather than something you have to beg for.